Well, today, George and Laura Bush are marking the 10 years since Hurricane Katrina with a big visit to the Big Easy. Bush was commander-in-chief when the forceful storm ravaged the Gulf Coast. CBS Sunday Morning's Tracy Smith covered the immense devastation in New Orleans back then, and she returned this week to see how much progress has been made.
Good to see you. President Obama greeted people living in a community trying to rebuild. Received with smiles and hugs, he strolled through the iconic Treme district, one of the oldest black neighborhoods in America.
Just because the houses are nice doesn't mean our job's done.
The pristine streets and manicured lawns were a stark contrast to the tatters Katrina left behind a decade ago.
The world watched in horror. We saw those rising waters drown the iconic streets of New Orleans. Families stranded on rooftops, bodies in the streets, children crying, crowded in the Superdome. What started out as a natural disaster became a man-made disaster, a failure of government to look out for its own citizens. America failed the people of New Orleans.
In 2007, during his campaign for president, then Senator Obama promised to help mend New Orleans, both its infrastructure and its inequalities, while noting the strides that have been made since, including a $14.5 billion levee system. The president said New Orleans isn't finished.
Our work here won't be done when almost 40% of children still live in poverty in this city. Our work won't be done when a typical black household earns half the income of white households in this city.
The president ended with a message to the people of New Orleans, calling their city the gate to America's soul.
Your efforts inspire me, and no matter how hard it's been and how long the road ahead might seem, you're working and building and striving for a better tomorrow.
Tracy Smith is with me now from New Orleans. Tracy, there has been a lot of talk about the progress made over the last 10 years and lack of progress in some areas, but I'm really curious, you were there 10 years ago. What has struck you so far about how the city has evolved since Hurricane Katrina?
Well, Emery, it's great to see the city alive again. I mean, you walk down the streets, especially in the tourist areas, and there's music and people are out and it feels like old New Orleans. But of course, you get out of those tourist areas and there are still some places that seem forgotten and abandoned. I mean, I had to drive to Baton Rouge to hook up with one of the people that I met 10 years ago because she hasn't moved back to New Orleans and she's not sure she ever can because she can't afford to repair her house. So there really is that too. A lot of progress has been made, but there's still a ways to go.
Yeah, I remember even sort of 10 years ago, shortly after Hurricane Katrina, the French Quarter had already opened up and there was music and food, and it still is very much a tale of two cities like you described. What's being done to bring those two cities together and make them one?
Well, the good thing is they're very aware that progress has been made, but there's still a ways to go. Like you said, everybody's saying it's a tale of two cities. So the governments have talked about building more affordable housing, getting developers in here to build more affordable housing. I mean, rents have gone up 40% over the last 10 years. Something has to be done about that. And they say they're working on it, but they estimate this might take, another 8 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm. I remember shortly after Katrina, there was a feeling amongst the people in the city that the federal government had let them down. The mayor, Ray Nagin, was very critical. I'm wondering how they're feeling now, 10 years later. Are they bitter about the way things unfolded before and after Katrina? And how do they feel about the federal government now? Do they feel like they're still out there on their own?
Well, think about it. President Obama was here yesterday. Former President Bush is here today. Former President Clinton will be here tomorrow. That says something, and I think that the people see that. And, one of the amazing things that I found about the people in New Orleans from the moment that I got here right after the storm hit through these 10 years is that when a hand reaches out, they don't bat it away. They take it.
Very nice. Tracy Smith, thank you very much.
Thank you.